All right, let's get everybody up in here. Okay, we got to get these other two Facebook groups in here before we're officially going. All right, spinning wheels. All right, guys, Friday morning, a little bit of a special show for everybody. At coming off of a unfortunate loss for the Broncos, fourth in a row, but we're still here to talk ball and figure out where we go from here. So, good morning, Scott. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. It was a late night for me. This is actually like it feels really early. To me, it feels like you might normally feel on the morning. I've only been up, I got out of bed at 8. Usually I'm out of bed at 6. So it's definitely
Kicking
Broncos
in.
for breakfast time. Get that mug going.
Well, there we go. Yeah, guys. Like I said, an unfortunate loss last night. The Broncos maybe finally had a straw that broke the camel's back, but not really too much of an excuse. You got to go out there and play, and ended up losing and dropping their fourth in a row. So let's get in there. We got Dave's in the house. Howdy to you, Dave. Good morning to you, Dave Glassman. Dave says, I'm afraid that we played well enough in the second half that no coaching changes will be made. We got Dalen Joseph. Dalen, good morning to you. Thank you very much for the good morning. And let's get into it a little bit, guys. Of course, this is Broncos for breakfast coming at you with a special episode, a instant reaction for the Friday night or the Thursday night game. You guys can follow Scott and myself on Twitter, Scott at Scout Kennedy, and myself at Kendell MHH. You can also follow us at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. For Facebook, go to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and or facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. And for you YouTube folks, head on over to YouTube and subscribe, like, and share. And while you're over there, also go to Scott's channel, youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy to talk some ball. And we got some more people coming in here. Dalen, again, I lost the fire in my eyes to watch this team. I mean, Dalen, we're still going to be here. So, we welcome you either way. If you don't want to watch the game and come hang out with us afterwards and hear what happened, you're welcome to do that. But I get it. And we got Dave coming in with stars probably here. Can't always tell, but we got stars coming in, and it looks like he says it's lock time. I think that's it may not be next week, it may not be the week after, but there is an inevitability that Drew Lock is probably playing at some point. EJ's in the house. I think he means to say Buenos Dias, Nick and
Buenos
Scott.
dias, EJ.
There we go. I took French in high school like an idiot. What was I thinking? But I
You
don't remember
you were
a lick of
thinking
it.
the prettier girls would be taking French.
Yeah.
or whatnot. I was thinking Spanish was going to be a hell of a lot more useful. I was fairly mature actually, I wouldn't say I was a mature 16-year-old because I have about the same mentality at 12 as I do at 48. So I kind of peaked at about 12 years old for my maturity wise. So, I still play video games and laugh at fart jokes, so
Well, there you go.
But I took a lot of Spanish. I did take a lot of Spanish.
Big regret of mine, but what can you do? Tequila for breakfast after last night's loss. Speaking of Spanish there. Well, EJ, I do not blame you. Just be smart, be safe. Tommy Simmers coming in saying if we don't pick up linebacker help, we are done. I mean, they're going to have to do something. They have to do something. They cannot go in with Curtis Robinson and Justin Strnad again. They got 10 days, luckily, so they'll figure out something. DeAndre Witherspoon, good morning, guys. Changes need to be made over the next 10 days. We'll see some. Facebook user, unsure who this is. We will have to win the division to see playoffs, I believe. I don't think you're going to be able to win the division. I think there'll be 2 teams in the AFC West, maybe even 3 that make the playoffs. But I don't think one of those teams is going to be the Broncos, unfortunately. Wouldn't Jalen Smith be nice? Jalen Smith would have had to have wanted to come here is another thing, right? He was
Avery Williamson might have been nice.
That's the one that doesn't make much sense, but we'll get into it. And before we get on,
him a starting spot, and I bet he'd be a Denver Bronco.
Yeah. Yep. But that was. Do you sit Justin Strnad then? Do you say, Justin, you're taking a back seat? Because he was moved on prior to the Alexander Johnson.
I know. But there's enough of a rotation there that you can say, listen, you're gonna split time with these guys.
Yeah.
You're gonna be number 3. You're gonna be in the rotation. See how many. I bet he would have gotten more snaps as a third linebacker in Denver than I don't even know who signed him, to be honest with you. I just know Denver didn't.
Titans.
Yeah, I bet he gets more snaps. Would have gotten more snaps. We'll check the log.
Yeah,
the last 2 weeks.
And Scott, before we get going much further, would you tell the folks about our giveaway right now? I know October is coming to a close, and we want to make sure that people know what they have a chance to get for their generous contributions.
Sure. Everybody that's donating the Facebook stars, and Dave has already come in and done that today. Let me get Dave up there. I like to highlight a guy giving stars on Facebook that Dave has already done so. 250,000 stars on Facebook gets you into, if we hit that, you get into the drawing, into the lottery for a Patrick Surtain jersey. YouTube, we're not forgetting about y'all either. The top 5 are in that same jersey, but there's also going to be tiers for all the contributors. So your contributions, not only is it, most importantly, I don't want it to feel like it's just, hey, you're entering a lottery and a giveaway and only 5 of you win and 200 of you are upset. The contributions help us be able to do this, most importantly. But this is kind of our way of saying thank you as well, on top of the other times we thank you. So again, we talk about keeping the lights on, keeping us in coffee. It's all kind of a joke, but if y'all aren't here, neither are we. So we certainly appreciate that, because we couldn't do this without you and the generous support from the community, from folks like Shane.
Yeah, and Shane, number 1 here coming in, number 1 super chat today. Not for superstars, but super chat. Good morning, Nick and Scott. Disappointing loss. The play calling was baffling to me. At least Fangio won a challenge. Hey, there we go, Shane. Talking about the bright side, Fangio won a challenge. Congrats to Fangio, man. They should have carried him off the field after that one. Again, maybe the Gatorade bath. Yeah, it's a disappointing loss. I guess we can get into it a little bit. I'll be looking over the the community here to see if anything else comes up. But Scott, your general feelings coming off of this loss, now that we're kind of through the intros, we've had a night to sleep on it. Also, congrats to your Braves. I know that you're very superstitious, but 3-1. Yeah, 3-1 is pretty nice. Better than 1-3.
Not 3-1, dude. Come on.
3-2. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, they lost.
They did what you expect them to do with a 3-1 lead. They got blown out. And no, I didn't watch it. I didn't watch any of it. I watched the Broncos last night. So I'm whipping out the big guns. For those of you that listen to this after the fact, we have a WinBet intro. So WinBet actually sponsors this pod. I am downloading the WinBet app today, and I'm putting $250 on the Dodgers. If they win that again, I'm putting $250 in Game 7 on the Dodgers. And if I'm going to watch my team choke away another 3-1 lead, I'm at least going to get paid for it.
Yeah, for sure. They have get to go back to Atlanta at least, but the Broncos, unfortunate game there. Obviously coming off the loss, 4th in a row, team that's pretty decimated. But your general thoughts? I mean, they just look so banged up. I thought it was actually a better game than it could have been. I feel better about this game than I did the Raiders.
No,
but
I agree. I felt, at least in the second half, there was a response as far as the way the team played, and so on and so on. But I'm not one of those people. I'm a little bit of a contrarian. When everybody's super panicked, I'm pretty calm. When everybody's super calm and laid back, I get kind of fired up. So, I was all calm last night. And then the more I slept on it, and the more I dwell on things, that's the Irishman in me. I dwell. The matter I started getting about this game and the way it goes, and it doesn't matter if I'm a lifelong Broncos fan or not, I don't like seeing waste and stupid decisions. They make me mad.
Yeah.
So what did you ask me yesterday when we got out of here? What do the Broncos have to do to win this game, or what has to happen to lose this game? I'm like, well,
key factor.
You're going against a backup quarterback, and you got to make him beat you. So what do they do to come out when Cleveland has the ball? What was the personnel on the front for? I'm sure you noticed, because you pay attention to these things. I didn't quite notice because I wasn't watching and dissecting it at the time last night. I just saw what was happening, which was they were getting gashed. But what did the front four look like?
Looked like a lot of nickel. Yep, going on.
It was Reed, Miller, Shelby Harris, and I think Mike Purcell.
Yep.
4. Draymond Jones didn't get on the field until it was 1st and goal. So we're talking about you got to load up to stop the run. It was an overcorrection. It was, well, we're not going to get beat deep by a backup quarterback and 2 guys that can barely walk out here at wide receiver, and Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. Instead, you backed off completely and just let them gash you with the running game. And we've talked about how this team can't get pressure anyway. You give a competent quarterback, I said every quarterback in the NFL save Zach Wilson. If you give them that much time and give them a 200-yard running game, they're gonna beat you. This isn't rocket science.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. And I want to give a hat tip to the Browns, right? That was a team that also was 3-3, and they needed that win at home. And Kevin Stefanski, a very good offensive mind, came out in that first drive, obviously pretty scripted, and they said, you know what? we don't think these Broncos linebackers are bleep, and we're going to target them with almost every play. Screens, tight end usage, isolating them with the wide receiver, and running at them. In that first drive, they made it look easy, and they marched it down the field. I was, like I said, I was on a Broncos, a Browns live stream previewing the game, and they said, "Are there any bets that you would bet your life on? Anything like that?" I'm like, the Ernest Johnson. Well, I think the over under was 53.
50s in the 50s.
Yep, it was like that one. That one's no doubt in my mind. Unless he gets injured, he's going to go over that because the Broncos do not. They couldn't stop a nosebleed right now.
If you watched Broncos for breakfast yesterday, you could have made a lot of money.
Yeah,
you could have made a lot of money because there were. I felt really good about the under, but I said Browns cover, take the under. You went with some of the prop bets, which was the over on yardage. You could have made a lot of money yesterday. Well, I'll tell you right now, bet on the Dodgers.
Oh, man, Scott, I'm putting out good vibes for you. We needed it around here. Andrew Lampy coming in. Thank you very much, Andrew. Always a big supporter of the show. We got Miguel coming in here. Good morning, fellas. Do you think we should trade Fuller for a run-thumping linebacker? If you're trading Fuller, you need back picks. If you're looking for a run-thumping linebacker, you should find somebody in street clothes in free agency. I mean, God.
Or practice squad.
Yeah, or practice squad. Great call. Yeah,
or practice squad.
Broncos have he's been around the facility. I'm doing more of the media side of things, but I know that somebody comes to mind for me is Todd Davis, who I know that you don't want to be in a position where you're bringing back people who have been out of the league for a bit and limited as Todd Davis is in many phases, but he's not going to get you absolutely gashed in there. So you don't have to trade Fuller for a thumper. If you're trading any players, you need to be thinking not this year. This year, this is like trying to salvage that Titanic after it's been cracked and the bow of the ship is already poking up out of the water. Okay, it's not completely underwater yet, but this ship is going down. The duct tape's not going to help. You need to start thinking about lifeboats and what you're going to do in your next ship if you can get off this damn sinking boat.
The other part of it is going back to Miguel. Who wants him? You're going to have to eat salary anyway.
Yeah.
What's he on? 10 million, where a third of the way through the season, give or take. So call it 6 million. You're going to have to eat salary on him anyway.
That's not a big deal though for this team. They have plenty of salary cap.
I know, but it's still somebody's money.
Yeah.
There's still some accountant there saying, okay, we're going to pay this guy $4 million, an accountant making maybe 70 grand a year. We're going to pay this. And he's got a boss. She's got a boss. He goes to her and says, why are we paying? It's still somebody's money. Forget the salary cap part of it. Yep. Again, it's somebody's money. But somebody's got to want him, and you can say a change of scenery. It's not working out. Let's take him to the West Coast and get him some sunshine, or down in Florida, and things will work out better for him. But in order to get any kind of value on the return, someone's got to want him, and frankly, he's not playing well enough right now to get the kind of return you would need.
I mean, if talk about the return you need, I'd take a 7. I would take a 6 with you send back a 7, just stuff to pad your value in the draft a little bit because he's not doing anything here.
No, and it save you money. Even if you paid $5 million of the 6 remaining, you just saved yourself $1 million. Well, $1 million is a lot of money in some places.
Yep. And that could be the difference.
That does a bunch of different things. That hires 5 more scouts for the year to do something like that. But again, someone would have to say, okay, we want him and we're going to make a roster move to add him to our team right now. And there's people out there for sure if you're willing to eat the rest of his contract.
Yeah.
Would I take him with the Atlanta Falcons? Drink. Yeah, absolutely. I'd still take him for the Atlanta Falcons, but we can only pay him in Chick-fil-A nuggets. That's the only thing the Falcons can do. So you're gonna have to eat his contract anyway.
I would go for waffle fries. Let's be real. Jamal coming in here saying, "Good morning, fellas. It's time for Vic and the coaching staff to go." Do you think that Vic Fangio and the staff is going to be here for the Broncos' next game against the Washington football team? Is he going to survive the next 10 days? Or are there going to be any moves?
Oh, goodness. I don't know Peyton well enough.
Yeah.
I don't know him well enough. It would sure stamp his authority on this team.
Yeah.
If he did so. Because again, we talked about it yesterday. Peyton's got a free pass for the most part for this year.
Yep.
Assuming he moves forward with the right moves. If you start losing the team, then it's okay to make a move in the middle of the season. It's okay. we're chucking the season away, and you can say all the right things. Well, we're going to try and salvage the season win, but that's a move saying we're done. We're done with the season. 3-4 coming off a bye. There's 10 days to make some moves. I don't know, man. I don't expect any. I just don't feel like that's going to happen. But I can't imagine Vic Fangio has too many allies in Dove Valley right now. He's not very likable.
No. Yeah. I mean, on the sideline, just doesn't even come off. He doesn't have good aura to him, which sounds so stupid. But I mean, even on the sideline, just like it looks like it's in pain. It doesn't. I don't know if these guys were like him very much. I know that a lot don't. I will give a. I'm gonna spin this real quick, and if there's anything in the comments here that you want to get to, we can do that. But I do want to say that, like I said, starting off the show, I feel better coming off of this loss than I did against the Raiders, because I think that at least this team, and specifically the defense in the second half, they showed some pride. I mean, they did. It could have been really easy for them just to totally give up when it was 10 points really early in the game. But they didn't, especially in that second quarter. Hats off to Shelby Harris, who had probably his best play of the season against a pretty good interior offensive line for the Browns as well. I think he had like 2 sacks, a bunch of pressures, the blocked field goal as well. And the defense kept this game close. They gave up early, and there was some feeling out phases, especially in the first couple of drives, but they played with some pride. And I want to give them a shout out to that, because it would have been really easy just to be, toss your hands up in the air and continue to get blown up at the point of attack against the run game. And they still struggled. I mean, what did the Browns finish with in the game? Dearness Johnson, 6.6 yards per carry. Browns, 182 rushing yards, 5.5 yards per carry total. Not
now,
great, but
there may have been some evening out on this. But when they put up those graphics, it's like a pie chart almost: run left, run center, run right. Yeah. Everything they did in the first quarter went left. Everything.
It's and do you think that's an indictment on? And I wanted to get to this, some guys that we don't typically get to do the instant reaction shows, but we can talk some specific players who stood out in both directions, unfortunately. But one who really stuck out to me negatively, Malik Reed. The Browns identified Malik Reed.
It was an indictment on Malik Reed. Yes, I do. They were blocking him with a tight end.
Yep.
Well, he was being blocked out of the plays by tight ends, which lets their left tackle get to the second level.
Yep.
Any left tackle that gets to the second level can handle any linebacker in the world. So your defensive end, because it was a 4-man front, and you're running 250-pound Malik Reed at defensive end, is getting taken out of the play by a tight end. Now, because I've only got 2 interior linemen and Von Miller on the other side, now I've got basically a guard and a tackle free to run to the second level, free to go and find people to knock down. The cutbacks, they actually switched on the second drive. They switched. Von Miller came over to the right side. So at least it was, I said, don't be afraid to change the obvious. If it's obvious to an idiot like me sitting here watching it on an iPad, at night, it should be obvious to people making millions of dollars. So Malik Reed was a liability in this game. And again, I don't know how much help he got, because it shouldn't have been a nickel defense out there. It should have been a stack the box type of defense. I want to see your backup running back and your backup quarterback beat me. Okay, we gave up a bunch of plays behind, but that was last week. We don't think Case Keenum's as good as Derek Carr. Prove it. And if they get behind you on the first play, okay, then adjust. But you gave it away right off the top. You just gave it to them. It's like, oh, they run screenplays really well. Not against an 11-man front. They don't. You know how you stop screenplays? Congest.
Yep. And not blitz. Get pressure with 4.
Congest it. Well, they weren't blitzing.
No.
They were just retreating almost. It's frustrating to watch.
Yeah, and I just want to, not to dance on anybody's graves right now, but man, I hope the Malik Reed is better and should be playing over a Bradley Chubb crowd really just takes a seat, and we can move forward from that.
I think the question then becomes: are you better off with Bradley Chubb money somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean,
not necessarily who's better than whom, but is Bradley Chubb worth what you are paying him or what you're going to have to pay him? That should be the question.
Yeah, and luckily he should be coming back the second half of the season to get a chance to see him, and also you have a year of control after this season as well. So you have a little bit of time before you have to make that decision. But man, Malik Reed really just was bad in this game. It was one of the worst games from the edge, setting the edge I've seen in a bit. Hats off to Jedrick Wills, who's coming back from injury, the left tackle of the Browns, who is a dominant player at the point of attack. I mean, he really made it looked like Jedrick Wills and the Alabama offensive line going up against the Nevada Wolfpack with Malik Reed out there. It was bad.
Well, that's how I felt about the game-winning drive for the Browns. How often do you see in the NFL a team just run 6 minutes off the clock? I mean, in a way like that, you see that in college.
Yeah.
But you don't see that in the NFL where they say, we're going to line up and just run it by you. Now, people, they convert third downs or maybe go kick a field goal to kill a drive, but not just sustained 6 minutes and change type of run. That doesn't happen.
Yeah. Yep. And Black Knight saying the fan base is toxic. I mean, everybody's kind of upset right now.
Black They're all Knight, toxic, dude. Yeah, all of them.
Especially when you're losing like this and you have expectations like the Broncos have. And also have the history the Broncos have. Speaking of, but I hear you, Black Knight. Let's get out of the toxicity. Let's talk a little bit of positivities coming out of this game. Number one for me that stood out, Patrick Surtain II. I think we saw Black Knight over on Twitch, or no, excuse me, the Robobot saying the Broncos should have taken Parsons. They'd be 4-3 then if they had done that. Maybe that's definitely possible. I don't think. Let's say in that universe, then you lose all three of your starting cornerbacks. You're struggling in a different way. Not many teams are built to lose every single starter they have at a singular position and look good, especially when you lose your last preseason starter on a short week, right? You had less time to prepare, adjust and whatnot. And I thought, Justin Strnad early in the run fits, not very good. Curtis Robinson, bless his soul out there, got undrafted free agent this year, trying to play, not looking good. But you got a short week to prepare for that, and I don't think there's a single team in the NFL that could handle losing every single starter for one position on that short week and then coming out looking good. To their
credit, other linebackers too, not just the inside guys, but if you want to call Vaughn and Bradley Chubb defensive ends, they are out. Chubb's been out for a while, and Von Miller was out second half yesterday. But if you're looking right now based on plug and play. Yeah, you could, because I would take, this isn't a bold statement here. Where's Micah Parsons playing? I'd take Micah Parsons over Malik Reed right now.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, without a doubt. So you've got you've got that type of athleticism and playmaking ability that Micah Parsons, I was a big fan of the player on the field. I thought he was a difference maker. I'm not going to worry about this is where Nick and I go back and forth a little bit. And I say that if you're guaranteed a game changer, and there are no guarantees, I don't worry so much about position value if I can get a game changer, because a game changer at any position they're worth a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
If they're legitimately a game changer, it's just harder to find in some of the other positions like middle linebacker or safety.
Yeah.
That type of thing. But
and you make a good point there. And we've talked about it before. The thing is, there aren't, like you said, there are no guarantees. And at least when you take a edge rusher or a cornerback or a tackle, if they are above average, you still get good return. If your safety or linebacker is just above average and use a top 5 pick, you failed. That was a mistake. But Parsons at edge, man, looking good there. But I thought
in the middle of the field right now too.
Yeah, as a sweeper.
I mean, but good. Again, you're drafting in April, not in October.
Yeah.
Right now, he'd be real nice to be able to plug and play out there for sure. But was he the pick at 9? Maybe. Again, the off the field concerns may have taken him completely off the board for some teams.
Yeah. I do think though, it's really hard to be upset about not taking Parsons right now when you have a game like Surtain just had out there. I mean,
now you sound like me.
Yeah. He was phenomenal out there. I mean, would I rather have a young quarterback to believe in that you're hopefully going forward with and settled, especially with how absolutely baby crap this 2022 class looks like right now? Yeah, for sure. At the quarterback position specifically. But Surtain out there, he is so fun to watch. So long, great at the point of attack. I'm glad the refs let him play down the field at the point of attack. And he had a very good game. I think there was a missed tackle out there as well, but Surtain came to play. He looked like either the best or second best player on your defense coming out of there. And he's a rookie, and he's just going to get hopefully better and better out there. So phenomenal. I'm excited to see, and as terrible as this sounds, one reason I wasn't as high on Surtain coming into this draft for the Broncos is because I didn't think he was the best scheme fit for the off ball as much as Fangio wanted to run, because Surtain is phenomenal in press. Really good at the point of attack, using that length, using the patience, using the technique. It's great. I mean, it's really good there. And Fangio just
got to get you thinking like a general manager instead of a coach.
Yeah, well,
you got, like I said, you got a general managers are thinking for the next 10 years, thinking I might have to replace this defensive coordinator in 6 months. Who's the best guy?
Yeah, I agree with you there. At the same time, though, do you want to draft guys that don't fit the scheme you're running? I did that always kind of, especially defense. Offense,
but again, he's not such a bad. You're not drafting an option quarterback.
No,
this isn't Jamel Holloway out there. Yeah. I'm old. Oklahoma magician, wishbone quarterback for the Sooners in the 80s.
But yeah, no, totally. But I just want to shout out again. Patrick Surtain played great. 9th overall pick. You're in a good spot there. And if people are wanting to trade, Callahan, who played solid yesterday. I think there was one play he gave up. You want to trade Fuller. That's, probably the direction this team should go. And then maybe you see more of Surtain out there. Also see some Michael Ojemudia. Figure out what you have with him with 3 years left of control left. Probably a different direction there. But Surtain stood out to me in a positive way. And I think we should be at least looking at a little bit of positives here in Surtain, man. Also, quick side, this is so stupid. Surtain's aesthetic, his swag, the half sleeves, the visor, the gloves. He looks like a Matt.
He's got that intimidation factor when he walks out there. Now, picture going up against 11 of those guys when you're playing against Alabama.
Yep.
It's a little intimidating. Alabama beats a lot of teams before they even kick off. That's why there's so many of them. It's like, oh, the Alabama connection. It's like everybody's got Alabama players. That's no connection. Tua to Denver. Oh, Jerry Jeudy. Come on, there's an Alabama receiver on every team in the league.
That's very true.
Javonte Williams.
Yes.
We got to get this kid more touches. I mean, to be fair, he did have 6 catches. I'm looking at the box right now, and it felt like you're getting involved in the passing game, but 4 carries, 6 touch, 10 touches overall. I want 20. I want 20 for Javonte Williams. I want 10 to 15 for Melvin Gordon, and get 35 touches. If you're running 60 plays, and throw the ball 25 times. Some of those will be throws too. But Javonte Williams looks all of that in a bag of chips. I mean, he's dangerous with the ball in his hands. Get him the ball. Get him the ball. And again, I don't trust this line in pass blocking, especially against the likes of Myles Garrett. Run the ball, and not just necessarily, on 1st and 10. I thought they did a much better job in the second half coming out and moving the pocket around, getting Teddy. Some of it was, Teddy getting flushed and moving, but some of it was designed. There's some designed rollouts there. Let's move the pocket. I don't want him to be a sitting duck. His mobility was okay. And he played after a really bad first half. He played really well in the second half. And part of that was scheming and getting him out and about where he could make a play with his legs and his arms, and not running with his legs, but extending plays with his legs.
Yeah. I definitely agree with you. Javonte Williams looks like a great player. What did he finish with? Something that's kind of crazy. Only 4 carries.
4 carries for 20 yards, and he had 6 catches on 7 targets for 32 yards. Nick, I'd also like to see a little more rotation on the defensive line. I like when I see Steffens in there and is it Deshaun Williams? Those guys play with some fire. They play like they want somebody else's job. Yep. I'd like to see those guys a little bit more. When you're worried about, if I lost the team, well, you know what? Let's give the guy behind it a chance and see if he wants to earn a job and earn some more money. I guarantee you you're going to get their best effort.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think we finally saw Ajim yesterday. Only had 8 snaps. They didn't really stand out. But he finally got out there. Shamar Stephen, pretty good in the run game. No impact on the pass game, but, that's not what you're really bringing him in for. I think that Mike Purcell has been pretty disappointing this season overall. I mean, you're bringing him in to be a run stuffer because he obviously doesn't bring anything in the pass game, and I think he's only been mediocre in the run stuffing game. So he's one that you might be looking to. I mean, if it's really hard to get too upset about the nose tackle unless they're getting absolutely blown up at the point of attack, and he hasn't doing that. But he's still not any sort of a difference maker right now, just kind of a warm body.
Nick, you're going to start to see, I saw Jordan Davis up to 12 this week.
Yeah.
He's going to sneak into the top 7. Jordan
7?
Davis is 6'6", 340 pounds, nose guard from the University of Georgia. And he's one of those that'll be almost an urban legend. Everybody will be talking about this guy when he comes in. So when we start talking draft, let's keep an eye on him, because for any team that runs a 3-4, this guy is perfect. He's absolutely perfect for a 3-4 nose guard.
Yeah, he is my number one interior defensive lineman right now. I know that Texas A&M DeMarvin Leal had a lot of hype coming into the season, but I don't want to throw out the S word for soft. But watching that Alabama game, he cannot hold up at the point of attack on the inside. He cannot hang up against double teams, and all that stuff scares me. So I think it was Pro Football Focus had Leal being mocked to the Broncos this last week. With George Karlaftis falling all the way to 32. What the hell are we doing? Give me Karlaftis there, but Jordan Davis is going to be my number one interior defensive lineman. He's a lot of fun, and I don't know, he can move across gaps too, which is incredible for a guy that size. Speaking of incredible, Chris Hernandez here coming in. Good morning, rough night, coffee helps. Stay gold, my friends, and Chris is always a big supporter of the show. We appreciate you so much.
Chris, thanks for the stars, and the Stay Gold has come back around. Does everybody else remember that from The Outsiders? Did you read that as a kid?
I did not read The Outsiders.
Okay, yeah, The Outsiders was huge when I was in middle school as a coming of age type book, and that was the poem that they quoted in there a lot, was Stay Gold. So Stay Gold, appreciate it. And the coffee does help. I call it the caffeinated bliss. I'm feeling pretty good, except when I start getting fired up a little bit. And we want to get fired up, we can start talking about some of the post-game quotes as well.
Oh yeah. God. Accountability, right? Buck stops here. But we got EJ coming in saying, I was screaming for Noah Fant to run fools over and break more tackles. Seemed like the first guy made him a tackle on him. I thought that early on, Noah Fant struggled. There's a couple plays where it's like, God damn, Noah, just Fant make the first down, right?
That was the first one. That's not necessarily a bad play, throwing under to your tight end on a cross route 2 yards short of the first down marker. You expect him to be able to get that first down, your first round pick tight end, and he didn't. He didn't. And Fant doesn't look very good in the open field. He's not, you've heard me say before, I like the sadisticness of seeing the tight ends in the backfield. To be fair, it was a linebacker that took him down. He was wearing like number 3. I'm like, who's this guy? Oh, it was a linebacker. I'm like, okay. And he did drop in his zone. So it wasn't a trailing technique where he had to catch him or make a move. That linebacker that made that play, Anthony Walker, I think, dropped back in the zone and came straight ahead and cut underneath him. So that was good defense, but you'd still like to see him make that play.
Yeah, I thought Noah Fant played better as the game went on. He started to make a little bit more plays and getting more involved, which he had to be, given how quickly Myles Garrett was beating the guys. Shout out to Teddy Bridgewater, I guess, in that sense. We'll get to the quarterback. Obviously, Teddy did not play a great game, but for toughing through it and getting out there, maybe it should have been Drew Lock out there, but it is what it is. This is something I've been thinking about Noah Fant, and you would actually appreciate the language here, as far as how I phrase it, I guess. But Noah Fant is a player. He's a great athlete, height, weight, speed, 6'5", 255, et cetera, et cetera. He has absolutely no pace. Everything is just single speed. And you see that in soccer sometimes, where guys that are really good players are like, on like a joystick, you can kind of push it a little bit and around and whatever. Noah Fant is just forward or stop. There is no control or pace or anything like that.
After the catch, when you're going laterally on a drag route. Now, if you hit him on a seam route or even a skinny post type of thing, but if you're trying to hit him on a screen, on a tight end screen, there's no wiggle there. There's no start and stop.
Yep.
You want to see him turn loose on the defensive backfield. When you started to explain that, it reminded me of the phrase. I hadn't heard this in so long. I guess I haven't been around the scouting community enough. But the phrase talking about these guys that look like $1 million that just don't get it done is they look like Tarzan, play like Jane.
Yeah, some DeMarvin Leal vibes there for me. But no, just there's no pace to him. There's no control, and that was something at Iowa as well. And people are like, oh, why don't you get Fant down the field? Well, not as coordinated above the rim. If it's not in his catch box.
So how does he get to be a first-round pick then?
Because he is a great athlete, and he had a lot of production at Iowa, and he was asked to do a lot of things that tight ends in today's NFL cannot do, or don't do in college, at least. So,
because that's the kind of thing that knocks you down. It's like he does everything well, but he's not fast enough. Okay, well let's get him in the third. Let's get him
fast.
let's trade down and get him in the second if we like him.
Yeah, he doesn't have control. I really don't know. It's like old school Atari football game where like you press a button to go forward or let it go to stop. There's no in between.
Balance.
Yeah.
When you start talking about the agility, there's some comments in here. I said balance and vision are the two most. I wouldn't say they're underrated, but they're underappreciated in a running back because you can't measure them. You can't measure them, but you can just tell when they've got them or not. When you see guys come in and hit a running back and he stays vertical and just moves over some from the impact, and then a guy slides off him, he's got elite balance. That helps him with his side-to-side movement. So the way you're describing it to me is Noah Fant doesn't have great balance because I haven't seen him break a tackle yet. And it's not because he's not big and strong. So, what is it?
And he is dealing with a lower body injury as well and playing through that. But still, got to play better. And I thought he did play better after the first quarter. I thought he did make some plays, get some first downs. He wasn't falling just short of the stick on a few of them, also actually getting the first down. So there's a saying out there. It's you don't quit on talent. And hopefully the Fant can figure it out because he is a really supremely athletically talented player. But you got to show a little bit more. He's got to play a little bit more angry. I think that's the biggest thing for me. I don't want to use the S word because he is out there playing through injury, but it's got to be better. Alex Green coming in here. Carson Strong or Malik Willis. Can I get either of them in the second round? Right now, I think that's my draft strategy right now. I don't like any of these quarterbacks as far as like a top 10 pick, even a top 20 pick, maybe Matt Corral in the top 20. But I think there's going to be a bunch of quarterbacks that'll go in like the top 70.
We'll see. General managers get itchy with quarterbacks.
Yeah,
that
I would like give them a grade.
I'll never forget the Christian Ponder year when he's going. 4 guys go in the top
2011
first draft. I'm like, I'm not sure I would have taken anybody. And Christian Ponder's going 10. These guys have lost their minds again. They've gotten quarterback happy again.
Yep. Yeah, no, that was a 2011 draft, right? That was one of those drafts that scare you because everything outside of the quarterback.
10 years ago. That's how old I am.
The Julio Jones draft. But what's crazy about that one, if you go back, one of the best drafts in the last 40 years, really. But that's
so if you're reaching for a quarterback, you're really pissed off.
Yeah, it was Cam Newton and then no quarterbacks after that, and there was that was the draft with J.J. Watt, Tyron Smith, Von Miller,
Green,
Julio Jones, Patrick Peterson, Ryan Kerrigan, Aldon Smith when he was killing. I mean, that was an incredible draft class. But it's what it is. So this class, honestly, if you can give me there's those guys, there is Kenny Pickett. There's Sam Howell, all those guys. Give me the last guy that's on the board because that's just all these guys I just view as a lottery ticket. And I would be maybe swinging on one of them there. And guess what I'm doing in 2023? If that guy didn't, obviously, if they don't go out there and play like Justin Herbert, which isn't happening, then I'm probably going to be looking for quarterback again. But it's just at some point you just need to be a volume shooter, right? Just keep shooting. Other positives from this game, I really want to give a shout out to. So we said Patrick Surtain, we said Javonte Williams, kind of Bryce Callahan as well, but Jonathan Cooper came in, substituted for Von Miller, and first time we've really seen him get much of a chance this offseason, and I thought he blew Malik Reed out of the water. Now, Malik Reed has a good job, a penchant, I guess is the word, for making closing plays, sometimes like finishing, making the big sack, strip sack, whatever, etc., but he's not as good down to down as an impact player. I thought Cooper was having a pretty good job impacting down to down. Now he's got to do a better job finishing. How Keenum got away from him on that one where he just went over him, I do not know. Keenum did a Houdini, I guess. Shout out to him. Sometimes those guys make plays too on the other side. But Cooper had a great game, and he probably needs to be out there more. I think I would play him over Malik Reed at this point if Von Miller's healthy and back. But I think, unfortunately, maybe Von Miller's days are numbered here in Denver. We can get to that here at the second half of the show too.
Yeah, for sure. Talking about Cooper, Cooper's definitely earned more playing time, for sure. And at the very least, just be stronger at the point of attack. Can you set your edge better? If you do nothing else, you cannot be blocked out of the play by a tight end. If you're playing at a 3-4 as a defensive end, you cannot be blocked out of the play by a tight end. And I saw that happening too much with Malik Reed. So did the Denver Broncos coaching staff because he got moved. So, credit to Jonathan Cooper coming in and taking advantage of his opportunity. Good call on that. And I don't know if this one is hot and cold as much as some of the others is controversial, but I love Kareem Jackson.
Yeah.
I just do. You want to talk about a guy who's never going to quit. You talk about guys that say, oh, I could tell the body language one of our community guys was in here. I don't remember who it was because it was early, but he was at the game last night. He says the body language is bad. Kareem Jackson is an animal.
Yeah.
He is always flying all over the field. Now, in a game like this, I don't want him starting 12 yards deep. I want him standing up next to Stranad. I want him closer to the box. That's where he should have been all along. There's room for that, especially if you're hurting at linebacker. Bring Kareem Jackson closer to the box, for God's sakes. He loves flying forward and hitting people. So I'm a big fan of the effort and attitude that Kareem Jackson brings to the field. And I think you need him. I think you need him on the field.
Yeah, I agree with you. He is right now probably the energy player for that entire defense, especially without Alexander Johnson now gone for the season with a torn pec. So unfortunately, Sam talking about believing the hype of the team. Yeah, it feels like a sinking ship, right? Everyone can see, everyone knows. Luckily, not a sinking ship in here with the DWI guys keeping the lights on. Thank you very much. Always super supportive in here. $10 super. He says 33 passes versus 12 runs. Ouch. Thank God our rookies, at least, they came to play. That's the big positive. Rookies did come into play. Maybe it's going to be time to start playing Quinn Miners. Although I thought the Broncos offensive line, given the task at hand, played admirably. I'm not going to say they played great, but it could have been much worse considering how they looked against the Raiders the week prior. But that's not good. And that's not protecting your quarterback also, which is probably the most upsetting thing to me because Teddy Bridgewater was obviously hurt. And we should get into Teddy Bridgewater's play after this, but you need to run the ball more, and they were running it effectively. Decently effectively, I guess. Melvin Gordon not as much, but still, they should have run the ball better to protect Teddy Bridgewater. And the game was close. The game was close on the scoreboard. Don't abandon the run.
Speaking of lack of side to side, and that's why you're a guard. But watching Reisner pull or try to get to the second level is painful to me.
And he's supposed to be an athlete. At the guard
it's painful. I don't know if he's completely healthy or what, but it's not good enough. We mentioned it's hard to get yardage when you can't move the line of scrimmage. It's hard to be a good offense when you can't move the line of scrimmage. So you watch, here's the line of scrimmage, here's the defense and everybody. The ball snaps and they all stay right here or move backwards just a little bit.
Yep.
Firstly, you watch the Cleveland Browns offensive line. They start their play 3 yards in 3 yards forward because that's where they're getting a push. Unless they're dropping back in pass play. But, the center gets stoned. Then you pull a guard and Reisner can't get there. He can't get to anybody to block. It's just, and then it becomes a congested mess.
Yeah.
So that one's tough. So speaking of rookies coming out to play, I'm ready to see a little bit more of Miners myself. James coming in, throwing some stars as well. Says, morning, I love my Broncos, but it really feels like we're going to be in QB purgatory for another 2 to 3 years, and that's frustrating. What do you guys think is the best way forward? And I think that's why there was so much backlash with the choice for Teddy Bridgewater, because Teddy Bridgewater isn't a long-term solution. He was never going to be. We said in the summertime, if Teddy Bridgewater wins this job, what does it signal? It signals you've got a new quarterback in 2023. It might be that he's a holdover for 2 years. It might be that you let Locke do it for 1 year, as he's finishing off his rookie contract. But it's a big signal that the Denver Broncos don't think they have their quarterback on this roster if Teddy Bridgewater wins this job. And that hurts. That's like, God, we haven't had a quarterback for so long. We're going to have to wait another 2 years. Are you kidding me? So I think that's where a lot of the backlash against Teddy has come, because Teddy's been pretty much what you expected, and you expect more. You want more. When you've had John Elway and Peyton Manning play for you, you expect more than that. And that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. What I don't necessarily like to see, speaking back of the post-game quotes, and we'll have them posted and stuff, but when you compare Vic Fangio's quotes and Teddy Bridgewater's quotes, you'd think one was a prima donna quarterback and the other was the head coach. Yeah. And in fact, it was the other way around. You got one guy who says, we, when there's something that was going wrong, and the other, and if something goes poorly, he says, I. That was Teddy. What about the defense? Was it frustrating? He was asked, was it frustrating to watch the defense not be able to get that stop? It's like, we have a lot of belief in our defense. Sometimes it goes like that. We this, we that, we that. You got asked about that bad interception. I made a bad throw. I made a bad decision. I'm frustrated. And then you flip over to Fangio, and it's we had it covered, and then we schemed for that very well, and then Malik Reed gets thrown away.
Yeah.
I don't want to play for that dude, man.
Nope. Yeah, and I think you're going to unfortunately see that coming back the rest of the season. Vic Fangio, I mean, it's what does somebody do when they are panicking? It's a rat sinking a ship right now, and he's casting blame everywhere he can. It's not on him, and that's not a leader, but it's somebody who I think understands that the time is coming to a close and trying to keep all the garbage off of them that they possibly can. But yeah, no, Vic Fangio last week too. I mean, just blaming the players. That's not somebody who, and I get on Scott Frost about this, Nebraska head coach. He's always talking, never takes any accountability, talking bad about his players, which is even worse for college kids.
Yeah, who recruited these guys?
Yeah, God. And then his coaches under him as well. And that is unacceptable from a college coach. And then it's unacceptable from a head coach. Maybe not as much in the NFL because those are adults out there, grown men, but still, like, coach needs to be me. Like, when we win, it's because those guys. When we lose, it's on me. I mean, we call it coach talk or whatever, but still, like, there's something about
leadership.
Going to bat and being a shield for your guys.
It's leadership.
Yeah.
Who's a coach? They call it being a player's coach. Well, that doesn't mean you can't be a hard ass.
Yep.
You still can. It just means you've got your players back publicly. You can dress them down behind closed doors, no problem. Yep. They'll respect you for that. But publicly you've got their backs. Yep. Even if you wave them the next day, publicly you've got their backs.
Yep. And those are guys that are going out on the field and playing. You need to buy in for the scheme, for the locker room, with each other. And when you're going out in the post-game press conference and pointing at everything but yourself, those guys aren't going to play for you. Zach Hage and Vic blame the players, essentially. Yeah, I mean, he blamed everybody but himself. He also said that he doesn't expect any changes as far as play caller, scheme, blah, 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 blah. So not great, but it's a guy who is, panicking and taking shots as the ship goes down. It's unfortunately. We got Collection Connection coming in saying, if you can't see how bad Teddy is, you're blind. Did you watch jump down. Did you watch how many times he threw behind the line of scrimmage? I saw 2 passes maybe by Bridgewater. Locke won the quarterback competition and Fangio Shermer chose Teddy Bridgewater. I don't know if Locke won the quarterback competition because most of the quarterback competition is stuff that's going on that we cannot see. I mean, how many actual throws are you judging off of in preseason compared to how many are in practice and what's going on in the film room? I think probably the most likely thing here is that both the quarterbacks are not great as far as franchise options. Then that's an unfortunate reality a lot of people don't want to hear, but probably the reality we have. As far as Teddy's game, I thought that it's really hard to be criticize him too much for me because of how beat up he was. But he didn't play great. And the one that absolutely kills me is that, and we'll get that in a second. The one that absolutely kills me is the red zone interception that he threw. You're down 10-0 and that took points off the board. I think it was second down as well. And he threw just an absolutely terrible pass, terrible decision that took points off the board. And you're not in a situation there in the first quarter, second quarter, whatever it was, to take points off the board. You need every single point you can get. And a lot of times this game, it would have been a 1-possession game if the Broncos, assuming McManus hits the kick, don't turn the ball over there in the red zone in the obvious field goal position. So that one really bothered me. You brought in Teddy to not make those decisions, and he made a bad decision. But as far as saying that Teddy is horrible and that Locke won the quarterback competition, I'm not sure about that Collection Connection. I think that
I think, again, it's more going back to what I said earlier was, the Broncos brass doesn't necessarily think they have their quarterback. Right now, the only thing I'm convinced of is they don't think it's Drew Lock. This was a question Fangio was asked afterward. Did you consider making a quarterback change at halftime and then assess? There's only about 20 seconds and then I'll cut it.
Yeah. It's muted.
Dealing with his injury. That quarterback with Teddy, obviously, kind of playing for Penny today.
I did not.
How effective do you think he was dealing with his injury?
I thought he played good, especially there in the second half. I don't think Teddy's injuries, from my vantage point, affected him that much. And I thought he was courageous, and he's our quarterback.
I mean, that's what you want a coach to say there. That
Yep.
he was professional there.
But he doesn't say that about a lot of other guys.
Yeah.
When he asks, did you consider making a change? You consider everything. I mean, you consider, if your brain works beyond 1 mile an hour, you consider all options. So we considered it, but we thought Teddy was the best option, and he came out and he played well in the second half. Okay, fair play, he did. But if you're honestly saying, and again, I accuse a lot of other people on this pod of saying you guys get too worked up about what the coach says. Well, I see why, because your coach isn't not very likable person.
Not good people skills. Definitely not somebody.
I see why you get worked up about what he says. But instead of saying, did you consider, instead of I didn't, he probably just should have said, I won't.
Yeah.
I'm not considering Drew Lock at quarterback. As long as Teddy can go out there, he's our quarterback. I'm not considering Drew Lock. That guy, he's dead to me.
Yep. And we got Paris Robinson coming in here saying, hello again, my guys. Come now. Do you understand why I trash talk the D-line the way that I do? They do nothing. They do not do anything. They're weak and soft, and they're not good at all. Well, I thought that Shelby Harris had a pretty darn good game overall, especially that second quarter. I mean, he kept that Broncos defense in there. I thought Draymond Jones had a game. He was beating his guy. He needs to finish at some point. He's been an almost player so far. In this game, if you're talking defensive line, I don't know if I would pile as much on the interior guys specifically. They weren't absolutely getting killed, but the edge rushers, specifically Malik Reed and the linebackers, that's what got you killed in this game. If you had a better, like an absolute unit defensive tackle, maybe that would help cover up the deficiencies there. But they identified Malik Reed as a weakness at a point of attack. They went after that. They identified the linebackers as not being ready to go in this game, screen game, the outside zone stretch, et cetera, et cetera. And they took advantage of that. So thank you for the comments, Paris. Let's get a positive comment.
I want to hit this one on Jay real quick. So Teddy did not play good in the second half. I'm not sure if that was a question to me or
Vic Fangio said something about he thought he played good in the second half.
He did. Teddy played well in the second half. You know how many possessions the Broncos had in the second half?
I would go 3. Yeah,
they had 3 possessions.
That's bad.
3 possessions in the second half.
Yep.
2 of them were touchdown drives. 2 of them were touchdown passes from Teddy Bridgewater. He threw for about 125 yards on 3 possessions and had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Yep.
That's pretty good. He played well in the second half. He played poorly in the first half, but Teddy Bridgewater played well in the second half.
Yeah, no, that's the thing where it's important to look at the rate statistics rather than the volume. When you only have 3 possessions, it's hard to put up, 40 points, right? That's not going to happen.
I was like, I would have said 4 or 5 possibly. Part of it was at their own doing, the lack of the big plays. But, in a 10-0 game, a 13-play drive isn't necessarily a bad thing. There was time on the clock.
No.
The Broncos didn't run out of time. They run out of I can't stop Cleveland.
Yep.
There was 6 minutes left in the fourth when they gave the ball back. Hell, I've seen the Falcons blow 21-point leads with 6 minutes left on the clock.
Yep. But overall, I thought Teddy played fine. He was not the turnover in the first half really bothered me.
No, he was again. It was a different half.
Yeah.
Again, if he had just come out and said, I consider all options. And when you're put on the spot, trust me, we know we've got a live camera in our face. We say things we want to go back and clarify. That's why we like the comment section.
Yeah.
I considered it. We can consider Drew Lock. Drew Lock's a good player for us. And if we needed him, he was ready to go. But no, I didn't. Yeah. I didn't. Again, I'm going to translate that to I won't.
Yep.
I won't. I considered it. All these things are great. Teddy, we thought Teddy was going to be good. We were going to help him out, call some better plays. We were going to be better as coaches. And to be fair, it worked. Teddy had a good second half.
Yeah, and it's tough too when you're going up against probably the best edge rusher in football right now in Myles Garrett. I think Garrett Bowles finished. What was his run blocking grade? It was absolutely horrible, or a pass blocking grade. Pro Football Focus 29 out of 100. So obviously Myles Garrett beat him like a drum. Didn't get home that often, but still causing pressure and causing the quick pass game to be really the only option there for the Broncos. But it was rough. I do think we need to address the elephant in the room, though. Teddy has not been the reason they're losing games so far, but he's definitely not the reason they're winning games. And that's kind of what we knew about Teddy coming into the season. In theory, with a good offense, especially if you have Teddy and KJ there, and a great defense on paper. Teddy mostly protecting the football, et cetera, should get you some wins. But right now, defense looks like a shell of itself. Offense has not taken steps forward. Injuries left and right. Teddy not getting, what Teddy is, I guess, is what you're getting at. At what point is it time to play Drew Lock? Because I think that is, it might not be yet. It might not even be until after the bye week. But given the direction of this team right now, 4 losses in a row, you might need to figure out what you have in that quarterback and just sink or swim with it and get more data so that way you can better evaluate this next upcoming offseason, because 2021 going nowhere fast.
It's going to take an injury. I'm convinced. It's going to take a coaching change or an injury. This guy's not going to play Drew Lock.
Yeah.
That's just the way it's going to go. And we're not far off from Teddy not being able to play.
Yeah.
It's not that far off. He's pretty banged up right now. The bye week will help. So Teddy's going to be the starter next week. You get a 29 pass protection grade out of your left tackle, and one of the top 5 highest paid guards in the league in Glasgow who aren't blocking, and a fragile quarterback. Teddy ain't going to last 17 games.
No.
Maybe we got our answer now. Why? I asked the question, why the hell did you bring Brett Ripp into the active squad?
Yeah.
We might find out. When Brett Rippon goes in as the number 2, we know what's going on. Lawrence coming in with some stars here too. I think Elway is still controlling behind the scenes. Peyton was just a scapegoat. What do you guys think? I don't think so.
No.
Nope. I don't think so. He had another one here too. Lawrence came in twice. If you want to adjust that, I'll bring up his next comment.
Why is Elway controlling things behind the scenes? I don't think Elway is controlling things behind the scenes. He was gently guided to the door by Joe Ellis this offseason after the team struggled last year, and he's still got a presence there, obviously. But for the most part, this is Elway's team. Maybe you want to call it Elway's mess as well. He's hit some good players though. Also, Cortland Sutton had a solid game here. That's an Elway pick. No, this is a Peyton having to figure out what he's doing with what Elway left of the team, and there are good pieces here. I do believe that this isn't a team that is, completely devoid of talent, kind of like you're looking at the Detroit Lions. It's like, man, what do I even build with here? There is young talent here. I mean, thank God the rookies flashed in this last game as well. But I think this is more going to be George Payton having to settle things out here with the coaching staff, which this locker room doesn't seem to believe in. And with, the comments that you get from Vic Fangio, I can't even imagine how even more prickly he is when the cameras aren't on him. And not invited to the Christmas party, that's for sure. I'm gonna have
Lawrence,
to move on.
Second question is, we basically got beat by a secondary team, and the fact that they were able to come out and use a quarterback that we had and put them in a scheme in order to win says a lot. The scheme, though, where weren't they beat up? And that was the concern coming in. Is why I picked Cleveland. Their defense was in good shape. They had the number 2 ranked defense in the NFL. Denver's offense has not been good.
No.
Okay. So Cleveland's going to keep you in games. Offensive line, while they've had their problems, they still run the ball pretty well. And Case Keenum, again, if you're going to just not pressure them and drop into a nickel against a team with the number 1 ranked running offense in the league, come on, man.
Yep. It's unfortunate, and
it was a little predictable, unfortunately, because we both predicted it.
Yeah. And it sucks the Broncos have become everybody's get-right game. I think maybe we'll see Tyler Heineke and Terry McLaurin go off next week in Denver. But hey, maybe you guys want to be demented like me and think like, oh, the season's lost. At least we're having a higher draft pick. That's good. Moving up the draft board, get a chance to come at.
We like to reward losers in our Marxist-based billionaire boys club franchise sports leagues here.
Yeah.
Nicole, there's a new name.
Yeah.
Nicole, good morning. And thank you for the stars. Appreciate you being here. This is the morning after pod. And it's a different vibe this morning than it was last night. So I either people have slept on it, the sleep on it pod, the 24-hour rule, not quite the 24 hours, but go to bed mad and wake up okay. Or the caffeinated bliss, like I like to call it, Broncos for breakfast. But good morning to you and welcome. I don't recognize you being here, so appreciate you being here.
Yeah, guys, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Nicole. We also got Collection Connection coming in. Locke came back from 24 behind last year. He scores. Honest to God, I do not remember this game where Locke came back when the Broncos were down 4 scores. I guess that's technically 3 scores because that's multiple 3 points conversion. So you have to remind me on what game that was. I mostly blocked out As far as I'm concerned, the Broncos haven't played football since they won the Super Bowl in 2015. Everything else is just blacked out. But you have to remind me of that one. I mean, at some point, if I was in charge, and if it was also with if I was George Payton, I'd probably give Teddy Bridgewater until the bye, or Vic Fangio until the bye, and say, if we're under 500 at that point, we have to figure out what Locke has, and if you won't play him, you're gone. I mean, it's just you need to flex your muscles in the authority and be that guy for the good of the team long term. And I don't think it's a Teddy Bridgewater is so bad that you can't go anywhere, but have to.
He's gone anyway.
Yeah,
he's gone. Vic Fangio is not coaching this team next year. I'll be shocked if he is.
Yep.
He's gone anyway. So now I'm going to go down playing my guys.
Yep.
What's he have to lose? Again, we talk about not having anything to lose. What's his contract going to pay him? 12, 15 million at least, somewhere in that neighborhood. He's not. What does he have to lose?
Yeah. Yep. It's unfortunate, but it's also not to be that guy, but like a lot of people want to see Drew Lock, and they built him up in their head to be a quarterback that he's not in reality. Okay, let's see it out there. Here, this is what you wanted.
I keep seeing this real quick. He's not eligible until 2026.
I think 2026.
He's class of 2022, isn't he?
I don't even think he's in college yet.
Yeah, so the first time he would be available is 2025.
It's either 25 or 26 even.
Yeah,
I think I've seen 2026 is in my head.
He's still in high school. I think if he's a senior, he's class of 2022. So 23, 24, 25. So the first time you'd see Manning is 2025.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not happening. There's some guys. Hopefully Broncos will figure out the quarterback situation before that. God, can you even imagine? That would be a fun storyline, but we gotta figure it out before then. Nathan Latella coming on right now. Good morning and happy Friday. Since the Broncos already played, are there any other particular games that interest you this Sunday besides Atlanta and Miami? Honest to God, guys, this is gonna be maybe upsetting for you guys, but I'm a huge college guy. That's probably another reason that I love the draft so much. I cannot wait to watch tomorrow Purdue versus Wisconsin because it means big things for my Hawkeyes, and I really enjoy Big Ten football. What can I say? Maybe I'm a glutton for ugly trench play, and I'm not getting it right now with the Broncos, so I'll watch it with the Big Ten West.
And for me, my schedule is dictated by other things. One, I know Chelsea plays at 7:30 a.m. on Saturday morning. And then my son plays at 10 and 1 on Saturday in baseball, and he could play at 10, noon, 2, and 4 on Sunday in baseball. So there's my weekend.
Yeah, that's a busy one. And also, guys, it's thank you very much for the comment. We got to that one though, right? Correct? Yes, we did. Thank you very much, Nathan. Shout out to Sean, everybody in the chat. Make sure you wish him a happy birthday, even though the Broncos lost. It's still a day to celebrate. And Sean says, it's my birthday today. Hearing news of Fangio being fired would really make my day. Sean, I don't think it's going to happen. I think that they're going to ride this out for a little bit, but it's an inevitability at this point. So it's going to happen, and unless something crazy happens. But we'll see what happens. This team needs
1989. Thank you, Clee. It's an age check. See, Nick wouldn't get that one. I don't think that's Batman 1989. Jack Nicholson.
Okay, I've seen it. I was really young. Joel coming in too. We need
born
Brian
in 89. Were you?
92.
Yeah, come on. Oh, you have seen it. You saw it when you were really young, not when it came out.
Yes. Brian Dabble coming out saying Joel coming out saying we need Brian Dabble. Agree. The question is, and I shout out to Daniel Jeremiah, one of my favorites for connecting this dot. But if you bring in Brian Dabble, how do you feel about signing Mitchell Trubisky as well? Because I think you're going to see those guys go hand in hand for Dabble's first signing here for a head coach. He's going to bring in a guy who knows his system. And Mitch Trubisky looked really good in preseason there. A lot of people are starting to say, hey, maybe Mitchell Trubisky isn't incredible, but maybe he also wasn't the issue in Chicago given how bad Matt Nagy is. And it would just be a stabilizing force for that coach coming over. So what do you think, Brian Dabble, Mitch Trubisky?
You're going to have, I believe next year, you're going to have a temporary person anyway at quarterback.
Yeah.
So if you bring in somebody like that and he brings in his guy to run it for 1 year, that's okay.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, you don't want to hear that necessarily, but that's what you're in for.
Yep.
I hate to repeat it and say it again, but I will. So I must not hate it that much. Teddy Bridgewater winning this job signaled that you'll have a new quarterback in 2023 because Teddy Bridgewater is not the long-term answer. He's not. He's a stopgap.
Yep. It's unfortunate, but that's where we are as a team, right? And once you passed Justin Fields, Mac Jones, not trading up for a quarterback in the draft, yeah, you kind of made your bed there. It's just here we are where we thought we had a good enough roster, and to give Vic Fangio a ride with a great defense.
To be fair, you might have.
Yeah.
You might have. You're sitting at 3-4 with half your team injured. I mean, literally, I think I could probably name 11 players that have missed time with half your team injured. That's devastating.
Yep.
And I haven't seen enough out of this coaching staff to, I've got a shorter sample size than you.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen enough out of this coaching staff to make me think that they can work around all these injuries too.
Yeah, and this kind of pivots to a more broad philosophical point for me for this team and just team building in general. Injuries are going to happen in the NFL, and this is a big reason why you don't, as a team builder or anybody on that side of things, don't get too focused and fixated on a singular need or position going into the draft or anything like that, because once injuries happen, you're dealing with a whole new depth chart roster. So what's the most important thing? Just get good players. Just get good players on your team. Like, you don't have a need for a wide receiver right now, but that wide receiver on the board is your best player. Guess what? You're one injury away from that guy being a huge impact player. So just get the best guys.
Well, I believe that if you've got a need that you want to fill, I mean, you've heard me say this before. The best thing is if you can fill a need with the best available player. And if you can't do that and you're not in love with the top guys available, then trade down. Trade down until you can get the best player available does fit a need. And then you're accumulating picks. And now you've got a better chance of percentages of hitting guys. Again, nobody's 100%. Half the first round is going to end up going bust. If it's 40% of the second rounders then go bust, well, give me 3 second rounders. And again, we're speaking generally here. I like volume of good players instead of taking all my big one swing on one specific, supposedly great player. What could you have gotten for that number 5 spot for Bradley Chubb? Again, a small sample size that can prove anything. But would you have been better off trading down out of that spot, or did you think that Bradley Chubb was necessarily the guy? I know you said I would have rather had Josh Allen, but that's a different conversation.
That's a hindsight thing, though.
Yeah.
I would have taken, honest to God, I probably, and this is just me being open with you guys and honest, and because I'm an idiot, I probably would have taken Josh Rosen there at 5 because he would have been the quarterback that I preferred out of the ones available. But you know what I'd have done? If he would have sucked, I'd have been back there hopefully trying to go get Kyler Murray a quarterback the next year. And if I didn't get that guy, guess what I've done? I've done the same thing the next year. I mean, it's easy for me to say here where if I pick the wrong guy, I'm fired probably in reality. But I really think a team just needs to be bold enough. I look at it like college football, honestly, right? Like you have 1 year, a recruiter goes in and brings a 5-star quarterback. You think they're just going to sit there on their hands the next 3 years and say, okay, that's our guy? No, they're going to go out there the next recruiting cycle and bring in another 5-star quarterback. And if that bothers the first guy, you already found out about that first guy. He's soft. He can't handle the competition. Or if he gets beat out by the guy behind you, okay, that's great. You have a better quarterback playing then. You're seeing it right now with Oklahoma with Spencer Rattler and Caleb Williams. You don't have that guarantee. You just need to keep going at the top resources, getting guys in there, and hopefully one of them hits.
And not all drafts are created equally. No, I wouldn't have traded down on this draft unless I'd gotten a really, really good offer, something like the 49ers sent to Miami. And then I'm trading down every draft. But, not all drafts are created equal. This last draft was pretty special. And Charlie says that Scott must eat at Golden Corral. You can get a bunch of mediocre food there instead of a good meal. I like to eat. You're not far off. I like all food. I've always kind of joked. I said, if you can say you can have a box of Cheerios now or a steak in 30 minutes, give me the Cheerios, man. I'm hungry. So, but this is different. You're right on that. But, we're all biased. We said that before. Mm-hmm. I was biased by Jimmy Johnson and the Dallas Cowboys trading down all the time and building that team with multiple players. I've been biased by scouting football players and watching not that big a difference between the 20th guy who's got 5 stars and the 80th guy who's got 4 stars next to his name. There's just not that big a difference in their development. Yep. That's a general speaking term. Now, in this draft, I did feel like there was a drop-off. I felt like, once you got past 10 or 11, there was 10 or 11 elite players, and then there was a drop-off. But most of the time, you're better off taking a shot on 2 good players instead of one that you think is great because there's just not that big a difference between them.
Yeah. And I want to get to Lance real quick about this strategy because I've thought about this, and this is more off-season content, but we're past the hour now. We can get a little bit in the weeds. That strategy depletes all of their positions, no first-rounders on the rest of the team, but quarterbacks. What did Josh Rosen, after having the worst quarterback season in the last 5 years, what did the Cardinals get for him when they traded him?
Second rounder?
I think it was a top 40 pick even. Very top of the first, second round. Sam Darnold, after having 3 terrible seasons, very
second
bad,
rounder.
A second and a third. Carson Wentz, huge, terrible contract, and playing terrible football. He had 1 good year, but the big contract, injured, older. What did the Eagles get for him? A potential first round pick and a second. I mean, it's just so the quarterbacks typically tend to retain their value, and if they don't hit, guess what?
They're not quite as depreciating an asset until the third owner. Because after Miami, you could get Josh Rosen off waivers.
Yep, exactly. So that's like Tua right now. Miami's looking for a value of a late first round pick for him or a early mid second. And guess what? They're probably going to get it. So they don't tend to lose their value. It's not like a running back where the running backs are the car that drives off the lot and they immediately lose half their value.
Collection connection. I certainly appreciate your dedication to this topic. It was a 24-3 lead against the Chargers.
Yes.
Why was everything Locke's fault last year in his first year? COVID year, same coaches. Nothing is Teddy Bridgewater's fault.
I think we blame Teddy a lot. I personally have been pretty critical of Teddy.
A lot of people have.
Yeah, and rightfully so. He's not.
Yeah, and I wasn't here to blame Drew last year, so I can't comment on that.
And I think that a lot of the blame Drew stuff, it got amplified in the offseason, and it had much more to do with the circumstances of the draft. The draft class.
Let's go get another quarterback because Drew's not good enough. And here's why we're going to say why. And we focus on that and focus on that and focus on that.
Yep.
I don't know. I wasn't here to blame Drew last year, but you know, typically when you're 5-11, 6-10, you got a lot more problems than just the quarterback.
Yeah. And I think you and I both said in the preseason right now that if it's close, play Drew Lock because you have 2 years of control. He's younger, and hopefully he can get it figured out. And
I thought I didn't see enough of a difference in the preseason. I thought they would go with Drew Lock coming out of the preseason. I really did, and it leads me to believe that there's more to it than just what you see on the field.
Yeah,
there's more to it. There's a personality clash there. There's a lack of leadership. And the other part I said that people kind of forget is you can't make that move without the backing of the rest of your team.
Yeah.
So what are your team leaders saying? If the team leaders thought that Drew Lock was a guy, we'd hear about it.
Yep.
We'd hear about it.
Yeah.
You would. You'd absolutely hear about it. And what do you hear instead? You hear the opposite, or nothing, or zip. Corey coming in, and this is one of those stats lies and damn lies type of thing. Because I agree with you on this. As bad as the defense was with injuries and all, they still only gave up 17. Our offense did nothing for a half. We need to focus on the main thing. Teddy doesn't work. This is what you get. 10-0 lead, and they did nothing in the first half. You're right. You're absolutely right. But what their offense did enough of was limit the Broncos to 3 possessions in the second half. The Broncos scored on 2/3 of their possessions in the second half. Typically, if you score on 2/3 of your possessions in a game, you're going to win because you're going to get 8 to 12 possessions, maybe even a couple more than that. But what their offense did was control the line of scrimmage, kill the clock. So the defense didn't do enough to win this game. They didn't do enough. They needed a stop in the second half with 6 minutes. In order to give the other team a chance. You give the ball back to the Denver offense with 90 seconds left and a timeout, and I would say they absolutely did enough to win this game, but they didn't. Yep. You got to come up with a stop with 6 minutes left, and all they're doing is running the ball right at you. You got to get a stop there, and it's not like they were overly tired because the Broncos had been going on big long drives themselves. Mm-hmm. So. I don't think they did enough to win this game, despite keeping the score down.
Yeah. And got a comment from Leo here saying Drew's been in the doghouse since he didn't wear his mask, and Hinton had to start. It wasn't just him having to wear the mask, and not everything. After this story came out, I did some more digging. Not everything is actually all out there right now as far as responsibility of who said to do what, but they also took off their contact tracers and put them in a room at somebody's suggestion, and that led to Hinton having to go out there and put the Broncos in a terrible situation. And that might have been the beginning of the end for not only obviously Vic Fangio too, but Drew Lock and Vic's relationship, putting them in a bad situation. But the thing is, I mean, we knew this coming in. Lock being a second-round pick, given the parameters of his college career and what we've seen through 18 starts, odds are he's not a franchise quarterback, especially one compared to when the bar is probably Derek Carr level in the AFC West. So you're going to have to go back to the drawing board. Maybe we'll see what Lock can do down the stretch here, but I think you're more likely that we need to look outside the organization. We need to look forward, not look back. Nathan coming in here. Speaking of looking forward to the $5 super. Thank you so much, Nathan. Are there any potential future Bronco franchise quarterback we should be looking for on Saturdays? Do you think this is a strong quarterback class coming up? I really don't like this quarterback class. Maybe it's part of it is because how much I loved last quarterback's class. And it's hard for me to look at Matt Corral, Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett, Carson Strong, et cetera, when I watched Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence last year. These guys don't hold a candle to them. Now, that doesn't mean none of these quarterbacks are going to hit. Somebody in this class, I believe, is going to hit and be successful. But as far as prospects go, I don't know if I'm going to give out a single first-round grade for a quarterback this year, which is terrible. I mean, we've had a quarterback drafted in the first 3 picks some crazy years in a row. Yeah, I think since 2014, which was the terrible quarterback class when EJ Manuel was the first one off the board at like 20. I think that's probably more likely to be the case this year. So, again, if you take a quarterback in this class, you better be ready to swing again in 2023 because you do not want to be in a situation where you're taking quarterbacks in bad seasons and then feeling like, oh, I can't take one this next year, and you're just stuck in this cycle of suck. Sorry.
The fun game to watch that I'm really looking forward to is actually coming up in 2 weeks is Ole Miss and Liberty. Yeah. I know. What, Scott? Ole Miss and Liberty? Yes. Mm-hmm. Ole Miss and Liberty. You got a couple of potential first-rounders there in Matt Corral and Malik Willis. And then Hugh Freeze, who was run out of Ole Miss for getting caught for using a burner to order prostitutes for recruits. I won't say get it for doing it because he's not the first one to do that. But for getting caught doing it, he was run out of there, and he's the head coach of Liberty. So there's some nice drama in there as well. But for the first-round quarterbacks, that's a really intriguing game to go watch. And real quick on Charlie coming back and saying, so with your box of Cheerios philosophy, Drew Lock can be the instant gratification and Teddy is the postponed steak. No, because Cheerios gets the job done. I don't trust either of these guys to consistently get the job done. When I eat my Cheerios, I'm full.
Yeah, Teddy's not a main course. He is the onions on top of the steak, right? Like if you have the really good steak and everything else already prepared, you can get the fixings on the side, but he cannot be the main one. And not sure what Drew right now is you're reaching in the fridge like this. And you know that the fridge is probably stocked with stuff that's maybe a little bit older, shouldn't be eating it, but that's okay. And at this point, really, I mean, you'll probably still see Teddy a few more weeks. But if the Broncos continue to lose, I really do think the call has to come in from upstairs to see what Locke does. And if Vic Fangio won't do it, you're gone anyway, probably, buddy. So we'll just move on because I think you do have to figure out what's going on.
That's where Locke plays. Locke's playing with a coaching change or an injury.
Yeah.
And what do you have to lose? And Tommy says Liberty's a hardcore Christian school as well. Well, that doesn't matter. Football is its own religion.
Yeah. And Hugh Freeze, also the storyline there too. So that's going to be a fun game. Unfortunately, I think the 2023 class is looking better than the 2024 class at quarterback. So if you have to go another year in the Teddy Bridgewater-ish viewpoint, or maybe give Drew Lock 2022 if he wins it, obviously you bring in another quarterback competition 10.0 or whatever it is. And Lock wins it, God bless.
It would be nice to have your quarterback, to draft a quarterback in this class that can sit behind Drew Lock or somebody. And then that's going to be your guy in 2023.
Nope, I agree. And I really do think, unfortunately, it's probably going to be another situation like this year where Maybe it's still Drew Lock on this roster. You do have another year of quarterback control or contractual control with him. And then you see them bring in another guy to compete with him, and it's wheels spinning. But at some point, you're going to have to take a shot, right? At some point, you have to do something there. And it's not that Peyton didn't look at it. I mean, there was a lot of talk that the Broncos were interested in moving up for a Trey Lance. And if the 49ers went Mac Jones at 3, I think the Broncos would have traded up for Trey Lance in that scenario. Although in that situation, I think Trey Lance would have been a Falcon going number 4 overall. That's what it sounds like. But who knows? That's another topic to have. But you just got to keep swinging at some point. And they've looked like they've been interested, but not aggressive. So DWI guys coming in, $5 coming in again. I think the third time today. So thank you very much, DWI guys. Guess we should have got our quarterback in this year's draft. I probably would have done that with Justin Fields. I know you would have done that with Justin Fields, but that's nothing to take away from Patrick Surtain II. He looks like he belongs out there. He looks like he's going to be a decade-long building piece. One of the younger players on this team too, at a position of value where you need a lot of good guys, especially in the AFC West. So is it rough? Is it like, buying a brand new sound system for a car that has no engine? Maybe. But I'm happy about the sound quality coming right now from that number 9 pick, at least.
Well, you've heard me say before, the phrase that's used in recruiting, scouting, and coaching, et cetera, is it's not the guys that you miss that kill you. It's the guys that you get and can't play that kill you. Patrick Surtain can play. He's going to be a good Bronco for a long time. Now let's go get some more guys that can play. Yep.
I totally agree with you. Well, guys, we've been going for an hour and 20, so we probably should start getting out of here. But, I feel better coming off of this loss because probably that Raiders game, there was a chance it was a big fork in the road game for them. And if they would have won that game, you're talking about 4-2, the chance to make the playoffs going down the stretch. And they lost that game badly. Oh, man.
We're not leaving yet.
Nope. We're sticking around. Go ahead.
Joe coming in with a big super. Appreciate you, Joe. Thank you for sure. So, hey guys, I love the show. And I'm new overall to Mile High Huddle. So this is my first year, but for me, this is a new name. So welcome. And if you've been around before and I just haven't met you yet, welcome back. Does Peyton know the year is over? Playoff teams don't have 4-game losing streaks. Time to play for next year. A win next week, if that happened, would just confuse our trajectory. I think he's got a pretty good idea, Nick. I think Peyton already knows. I bet he's got 3 guys lined up for interviews, et cetera, et cetera. You do that anyway. As a general manager, you always have a list of 3 for everything, down to who's fixing the copy machine. You've got your list of guys. If this happens, or if this guy becomes available, best case, who could I go get? They know, and that list is warming up. He's in talks with. I don't know this for sure. I'm not an insider. I know this because I've got common sense and I know how the business works.
Yeah.
He's talking with agents right now.
Totally.
He's on the phone with agents right now, putting out feelers, getting guys warm. Say, listen, if we make a change, how interested would you be? How interested would your client be? That gives plausible deniability to the coach on the other team who you're not allowed to talk to. Yeah. No, I haven't heard from the Broncos. My agent has.
Yeah, no,
so, appreciate you, Joe.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joe. I'm glad if we talk long enough, good things happen, right? Sometimes. But I think the big thing here from Joe that I get from this comment is confusing the trajectory of this team. This team should know, Peyton should know that this team is not going anywhere this year, and the schedule just gets tougher from here. This was another game where you had a lot of things in your favor going into the game, and you still lost. So next week, I mean, probably similar thing, Taylor Heineke going home. And if you win that game, you're 4-4, and you can convince yourself, hey, we're still in the thick of this, even though anybody with eyes could see this team is probably not going anywhere unless something drastic happens. So I'm not cheering for a loss next week, but a loss next week that would lead to Peyton moving on from key pieces to add draft capital and create even more cap room that you can roll over into next year and maybe even the year after that, given the direction of this team. That's what I get from this. And I agree with you. This team needs to understand where they are. And there's nothing worse in football than being a team who is stuck in the middle. Yes, stuck in the middle. Either you're rebuilding or you're contending. You can't just be floating in purgatory, which this team right now is heading towards. So I hope that even with a victory next week, and this is a hard sell for the locker room, I get that, and it's easy for me to stay where I'm sitting, but there needs to be some movement, some offloading of guys on their last year, their contract, et cetera, et cetera. It's not just to create cap room. It's not just to get more draft capital. It's to create opportunities for guys further down the roster. Essentially, you're looking at an extended preseason in that case. Like Jonathan Cooper, get him a lot more snaps going forward. And is he quality enough? Can he grow with these snaps where you're
Quinn
not
Miners,
Caden Stearns, Michael Ojemudia, more Justin Strnad out there, even though his run fits have been bad. I mean, we're going to live with it, folks. You're going to have to live with these kind of things because that's where this team is. And all while creating cap space, more cap space. Do we need more? I mean, yes, we'll take more. Maybe the Broncos can be like the Browns a few years ago where they are trading for a terrible quarterback, Brock Osweiler, but they're getting a second-round pick out of it too with all that extra cap space, buying a second-round pick essentially. That's one that I'd be interested in doing. And that's just, again, don't be stuck in the middle. Commit to the rebuild. And hopefully that's something that you see Peyton do and put his stamp on this team that, okay, well, we went for it this year and time to move on.
Speaking of time to move on.
Yeah. Yep. We got to get going here.
It is time to do some other work as well. Joe, that was awesome. Please come back. We're here Tuesdays and Thursdays, typically starting next week. I'm going to float this out here for y'all because we got about 230 in here. We might be moving to Mondays and Wednesdays so we can get the day after, but we might be doing Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. We haven't quite made it out. We're definitely going to be doing day after shows like this one, the morning after shows, but we might be moving to 3 days a week starting next week, but we will certainly let you know. But the reason why we're able to do that is because of people like you. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for contributing. Obviously it's low vibes right now. Man, I have to use the restroom. That's true. But too much coffee. But thank you guys so much. We're joining you let's just do it next Monday. And next Wednesday, we're going to make the shift. So make sure you set your calendars. I'll make sure to tweet it out as well. But I think we're going Mondays and Wednesdays going forward. And then maybe seeing if you guys continue to support us, we might be doing Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. But we're going to get on out of here. You guys can follow Scott and myself on Twitter, Scott at Scout Kennedy, and myself at Kendell MHH. Also follow us at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. Over on Facebook, join us at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, like, and share. And also follow Scott's channel on YouTube at youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. I know that Broncos are in a bad spot. It's not enjoyable right now. A lot of people have opinions of how it should
better.
We exercise.
I was pissed off when we started this. I feel pretty good now. 90 minutes of group therapy.
We have exercised the demons. Well, it's probably going to be some more of that going forward, unfortunately. But, Broncos, this might be a bad year, but we're in it together, and it's about the journey, right? We're going to get to that destination, but we're on that journey path right now. So hopefully it'll get better, and this team will have some direction, and we'll see some improvement and things to talk about going forward. But last positivity again, guys stood out. Patrick Surtain, I thought, played great. Javonte Williams played great. The defense played with some pride in the second half. I mean, I know that they were down their linebackers, and Cleveland was still able to kind of ice the game, but at least it wasn't they didn't look like they didn't even want to be out there, right? So at least they did that. And I don't know. Anything else, Scott, you want to say before you get on out of here?
Get Javonte Williams the ball 20 touches. Make it happen. And I want to see more Deshaun Williams. I do.
Yep.
I want to see more Deshaun Williams. And if you're going against a team that's going to run the ball, don't run a two-man front.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I want to see at least 3 defensive line. I want to see at least 3 guys over 280 if I'm going against the number 1 rushing offense.
Oh, yeah. And one last thing before we get out of here, just because I have to preach my own religion here real quick. Remember the phrase running backs don't matter? The Cleveland Browns.
I've heard you say that once or twice.
Did you see what just happened with the Cleveland Browns with their offensive line just creating 4 yards every single play and the running back picking up, just 2 extra yards of what the offensive line blocked for him? That's, if you want to have it's not that running games don't matter. It's that running backs, you can find those guys. If you're investing,
nobody did more than that than Mike Shanahan and Alex Gibbs. They did more to devalue the running back position than anybody in the history of this game.
And looking at last night, here we are. Just again, I really like Javonte Williams. Would I have made that pick in hindsight? Probably not. I'm probably investing in the offensive line there or another defensive player because this team looks so soft. But that's another topic for another day. I think Monday, Scott, how do you feel about talking about trade deadline candidates?
I'd be okay with that. I'm sure there will be
see
some
that?
news in there. The news will dictate the talk. And, again, it's nice playing on a Thursday. It's better if you win because then you get to sit back with your winning glow and watch everybody else.
Yeah.
But, the trade deadline's coming up November 2nd, and we may be talking about Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That'll be interesting to see. But thank you guys so much for everybody contributing today. Thanks everybody also for, I would say, mostly not being super toxic in here especially compared to what we're seeing on other socials. So you guys are real. Hopefully we can get through this together and give you guys a chance to air some grievances, and we'll work through this, right? We'll rationalize it and talk about it. But until next Monday, I guess until tomorrow night for me, with you guys on Mile High Insiders, but until next Monday, and Scott will be here too, working
I'll be in the background.
And hopefully we'll have some good news on the baseball front. But we'll see you guys. Oh, Scott, it's like pulling teeth. Every time we talk about that, it's like, oh, Scott, don't forget your root canal.
It's playoff time. Baseball's a regular season sport. It's playoff time. The Braves lost like 12 straight playoff series, and they were wondering why they couldn't sell out playoff games. I'm like, when you lose 12 straight playoff series, it's like we got the second best attendance in the majors. It's not that we don't like the team, but we know what's going to happen. Now it's college football season.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you guys are great. Follow Scott and I on Twitter, and if you want to continue the conversation, we'll get at you on there. Good vibes going forward. Have a great weekend, guys. Honestly, get out there. You don't have to worry about the Broncos this weekend now, right? If you want to watch football, carefree, relax, kick your feet up, it'll be great. Have a couple beers, grill out, et cetera, et cetera. If it's nice there in Colorado, enjoy the weather. We'll see you guys soon. We got to get going. Love y'all. Stay safe. Even though they suck, we still love them. Go Broncos.
That's when you have to love them, though.
I'm so mad.